Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Today's webinar is the importance of resident engagement. It will be presented by Jennifer Hartwick and Jaimie Killingbeck from Schlegel Villages. I'm Kate Duchek, a project officer with the Schlegel-UW Research Institute for Aging, the RIA, and I'm happy to be connecting with you all as your moderator for this webinar. I have had many personal and professional experiences in long-term care homes with the aim of enhancing life for those who live in, work at, and visit them. This webinar is being co-hosted by the Ontario Centre for Learning, Research and Innovation in Long-Term Care program at the RIA and the Seniors Quality Leap initiative. The RIA is an innovation catalyst and a charitable nonprofit foundation. By advancing research, education, and practice, the RIA enhances quality of life and care for older adults everywhere. As a program of the RIA, the Ontario Centre for Learning, Research and Innovation in Long-Term Care, or CLRI, strengthens quality care and living for residents across the province. In support of the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, the Ontario CLRI is mandated to build capacity through education, research, and knowledge mobilization to improve the health and well-being of everyone who live and work in long-term care. And last but not least, the Senior Quality Leap initiative, or SQLI, is a group of 15 leading North American long-term care and post-acute care providers that is supported by 10 strategic partners. SQLI is a community of practice that improves clinical quality and safety related to the quality of life of seniors by sharing performance data and the results of quality improvement programs. We are thrilled to have Jennifer and Jaimie leading this webinar today, and I will turn it over to them now.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jennifer Hartwick, and I'm the Director of Business Process Development with Schlegel Villages.
And I'm Jaimie Killingbeck, Director of Quality and Innovation with Schlegel Villages.
So over the next hour or so, we're going to walk you through some slides talking about how we at Schlegel Villages are engaging our residents through various initiatives and where we've come over time and where we plan to hopefully head to in the future. So first and foremost, our Schlegel Village philosophy. Like many organizations, we have a mission, vision, and values that we operate by, creating life purpose and engagement for all of our residents. Everything that we do and we talk about over the next 45 minutes or so is really to achieve our mission, vision, and values, focusing on life purpose and engagement for all villagers. Those are the people who live, who work, and who visit our village. The next slide, I thought for the benefit of those who are joining us from afar, as we do have an audience that are reaching out past Ontario, give a bit of an explanation of how we operate here in Ontario. We are a publicly funded long-term care system. So for those in the US, we have continual locations that operate much like your CCRCs or your continuing care retirement communities. When we talk about long-term care, that equivalent in the US would be what you would call skilled nursing. We have private pay retirement and publicly funded long-term care. Almost 4,500, in fact, that number is probably a bit out of date today, beds that are operational and that are currently under development. The next slide, for those that have their geography straight, just shows a bit of a map of whereabouts we're located. We do only service those residents that reside in southwestern Ontario. So we go as far north as Barrie and as far south as Windsor. So if you're coming to us from the US, just above Detroit, and we go about an hour east of Toronto to our Whitby location. If you have more interest in where our sites are located, please visit our website at www.schlegelvillages.com for more information. One thing to keep in mind is that we are most definitely not the largest organization operating in the senior living community, but I'd like to think that part of what we do each and every day is striving to help make us better at what it is we do. The slide you should be looking at now is the village continuum concept. And this is just a bit of a schematic to show you how our sites are located, because as you'll read later on, design is an important part of how we engage our residents. Dr. Ron Schlegel, who is really the visionary of our organization, it's his experience and expertise rather that have crafted this village model. The design is a physical structure that allows us the opportunity in order to bring it to life. We always build with a continuum in mind. So if I can orient you to the slide, this actually is the location where Kate's located You'll notice that the Research Institute for Aging is located in the middle. On the far left-hand side of the slide, you'll see our long-term care or skilled nursing, 192 beds. Phase 2 and Phase 3 are our retirement build-outs, and these neighborhoods allow us to care for our residents through a larger continuum. This whole structure, if you think of it from one side of the diagram to the other, is really a social connection. There's a main street or a social spine that allows us to connect each and every neighborhood together. We typically build our long-term care homes first. They are the anchor to our properties. And then we have several elements in our retirement home. So we provide support for memory care living, assisted living, independent living, and retirement living. But within each of those, we also have a living choice. So within our organization, we provide the ability for those who reside in retirement to actually age in place, which is not traditional, but in reality, we can provide all levels of care with any one of those neighborhoods. Hopefully that helps you give a bit of an understanding as we talk about some of the programs we offer, how they fit into this design structure.
As an organization, we have identified 5 key success factors which are integral to our success in our brand. Changing the culture of aging, people development, product quality, customer experience, and profitability sustainability. Changing the culture of aging is a journey our organization has chosen to travel to shift to a social model of living. We need to hire and train people who believe the same thing and develop them to be best in class. We strive to continuously improve and create value in our product, and we do this through innovation, the spread of ideas, as well as using the RIA as a resource. Making sure our residents are cared for and satisfied with life in the village is at the heart of what we do. And finally, we look at how we are using our resources. We want to ensure we use them effectively so that we can fund and sustain the other 4 key areas. Recreation and leisure is an important part of life at our villages. Our recreation team and volunteers provide a wide variety of activities, programs, and special events to keep our residents meaningfully engaged. Monthly calendars are created for each neighborhood, and residents may choose to participate in programs of interest, no matter where in the village they live in. Programming is held 7 days a week on both days and evenings. Our signature programs are organizational-wide philosophies carefully chosen to represent quality of life outcomes for our residents. The Program for Active Living is an innovative program which improves the quality of life of our residents by maximizing their independence. It is a collaborative effort between kinesiology, physiotherapy, and occupational therapy. Java Music Club is an evidence-based mutual support program that provides a safe environment for residents to discuss a wide range of topics. Music and Memory uses personalized playlists to reconnect the world through music-triggered memories for our residents. Wisdom of the Elder is a program that honors life experiences, skills, and knowledge of our residents across all villages. We commit ourselves to implement programs where our residents can offer their skills, abilities, and knowledge from their own life experiences. We host an annual organizational event where residents can come together from across our villages to showcase their talents as well. Recent events have included the Schlegel Olympics, which ignited camaraderie between residents as well as the competitive spirit, and the Pursuit of Passions, which showcased their talents and hobbies. These events have fostered growth and have pushed the boundaries of senior living.
There are other ways in which we engage our residents. I alluded to the design of the building being one of them. It is the main street in the town square design that creates a vibrant social environment. Our buildings have a true village feel. It is within these spaces that residents have the opportunity to participate in planned programming, but also to engage in camaraderie and discussion and just really a social gathering throughout the village. The neighborhood concept, we have smaller neighborhoods which ensure residents and team members have the opportunity to get to know one another. Team members are assigned to neighborhoods and worked on consistent teams, meaning that residents have the same people that care for them on a consistent basis, day in and day out. We also engage our residents through the development of meaningful activities. We offer programming that reflects our residents' choices. This includes smaller group opportunities as well as some large group activities. We also create opportunities for spontaneous program, driving from what residents feel they would like to do in that moment of time. Residents are encouraged to lead programs of interest. Sometimes that takes the form of running a knitting program or leading their own Tai Chi class. But I think first and foremost, we engage our residents by simply getting to know them. We take the time to get to know them. We do that through the completion of our Me form. Our Me form is completed by residents and families prior to actually moving into our villages. We ask our residents about their 7 domains of well-being. So meaning, joy, security, identity, autonomy, connectedness, and growth. So if you think about one's identity, their story began yesterday. So asking residents, tell me about where you worked, what were you involved in? Did you enjoy it? Do you actually miss it? Or when you think about your growth, we are never too old to learn, and we all have wisdom to share. Are there things that you want to learn about, things that you would like to try, or things that you might like to teach or share? Are all questions that appear on our Me form. In addition to that, we supplement it with our recreation and leisure assessment. By knowing our residents, we can offer meaningful opportunities within our village. Sometimes that takes the shape of mail delivery for someone who spent 40+ years as part of the postal service, or operating and supporting our general store for someone who owned their business for over 50 years. Perhaps answering the phones for someone who was an administrative assistant for executives all of their career. Participating in hiring of our team members. If you need someone to help care for you, how better to ensure that you have the right person than being a part of the actual hiring process? Providing tours and team member orientation and training through participation in our education panels. So the customer service conundrum. We're not only there to care for our residents, but also to ensure that they continue to grow and learn and experience life. But at the end of the day, they are in fact our customers. And we all know that customer satisfaction is a moving target. Customers as a whole have a greater expectation than ever before, and rightfully so. Regardless of the industry we work in, everybody has to satisfy their guests. We have to convince them to return, and we need them to recommend us to others, or we risk losing them in the long run.
All right, and now we have our first question for you all. So we want to know, how do your customers, how do you know rather if your customers are happy, and how do you measure it? So please think about that and type in your response in the questions box on the right-hand side of your screen. You might have to click on the arrow beside where it says questions to get the box to expand. And we'll give everybody just another few seconds to think of your answers. All right, we got some rolling in. So some people are saying satisfaction surveys, daily rounds, annual resident and family satisfaction surveys, ongoing programs. One person said their food service manager conducts surveys. Other people are saying that you get feedback from resident council, that there is various audits, and more of you are saying about satisfaction surveys. So those seem to be some of the common ways it seems. And yeah, as well, some people are saying comment cards, you know, actually talking to the people living there. This is great. Thanks, everyone. Back over to Jaimie and Jen.
Okay, perfect. In the beginning, we used a typical satisfaction survey, but what we realized is that it had a ceiling effect. We were able to ask our residents to rate our services that we provided, but there wasn't enough variance in performance to really measure change. And we found it difficult because we couldn't compare ourselves and our performance with others outside of our organization. We sought to really understand and measure the customer experience. How do we know if we're performing well in this key success factor? After searching out a few tools, we found that the CLRI self-reported quality of life survey for long-term care was something that we were interested in. It's a tool that enables residents to measure or provide their perspective of life in long-term care. There's approximately 55 questions which fall within the 10 domains. So we have domains such as privacy, food and meals, comfort, respect, activities, personal relationships. At Schlegel Villages, we offer this survey year-round, which not only increases the number of respondents, but also decreases seasonal bias. We train surveyors using a standard approach, which enables reliability and validity of the results, and the survey is anonymous. We aggregate results and report those back to the village. The survey is conducted internationally which also means that we can benchmark ourselves against others in the sector. We can not only identify where we as an organization do well or need to improve, but we can also see where long-term care as a sector needs to improve. Residents with a cognitive performance scale of 0 to 3 are targeted for this survey. They are surveyed on the anniversary month of their move-in date. This ensures that we can spread surveys throughout the year, decreasing burden on the village. It also reduces the likelihood of cherry-picking those that are easier to survey or more likely to answer positively. It is good to note that we also offer an additional survey for new residents, once within their first 3 months after move-in and then again on their anniversary date. So what did we find? We've been doing this survey since 2012. Initial results showed us that we were doing a great job at meeting our contractual obligations. Residents felt safe when they were alone, and they felt their privacy was respected. However, we realized that we were falling short in adding meaning to life for our residents. Our residents didn't feel that we knew the story of their life, and they didn't feel that we asked for their help or advice. So what did we do with this information? We asked that each neighborhood choose their top 5 indicators and their bottom 5 indicators. They were then asked to complete a root cause analysis to understand what contributed to their success for their top 5 and identify areas of improvement for their bottom 5. This was done using tools like the fishbone and the 5 whys. Information was then shared across the organization, villages learning from each other, and neighborhoods learning from neighborhoods. So fast forwarding to today, we now use a balanced scorecard to help villages identify performance within our 5 key success factors. It helps to keep focus and also shows benchmarking against organizational and international averages.
So data you collect about your resident satisfaction or quality of life can be used for more than just determining if your residents are happy about the life under your care. Starting back in the fall of 2011, when we were first examining the first wave of quality of life surveys by our residents, we discovered that the item of the lowest overall score when completing the survey was people asked for my help or advice. At that time, only 16% responded always or most of the time that we did in fact ask our residents for their help or advice. This was the lowest score across Schlegel Villages collectively, as well as lower than anywhere else in Canada. This finding caused us to think about ways in which we could intentionally seek input from our residents and at the same time provide opportunities for purpose and growth and meaningful social engagement. We asked ourselves, what could we do as an organization to address this need? And the solution was a unique mutual support group for residents living in long-term care and retirement homes called the Java Music Club. So we were able to use the data coming out of our quality of life surveys to look at the participation of Java Music Club. Initially, we purchased a little over half of the kits for our homes and used half of our homes as a control site. We looked at those that participated in the Java Music Club, their quality of life scores initially, and then compared it to what their quality of life was like after participating in the Java Music Club program. There was a significant difference detected in 23 out of the 31 questions at that time in the quality of life survey. And there were significant differences detected in 9 out of those 10 domains that Jaimie listed previously. So if you take a quick look at the graph, we sampled out just 3 questions. I get the services I need, I would recommend this site or organization to others, and I can easily go outdoors if I want. The burgundy column is the column of the score of those who were in the program and what their quality of life was like then. These are those that rated positively for this question. And then what that blue bar is indicating what the number of those that scored positively to their participation after their participation in the Java Music program. So you can see there's a striking difference between before and after compared with those that didn't participate in the Java Music Club program at all. But what else might contribute to quality of life? We thought about if there was a relationship between team member engagement and quality of life for our residents. Our team members are those that are the staff that work within each one of our villages. Every year we conduct a team member engagement survey. We started collecting this information back in 2013, where we had 46 different questions that cover off 5 different domains. So the relationship between leaders and team members, team member overall engagement, role satisfaction, how happy team members are with their roles, role clarity, do our team members understand what their job is, and then organizational citizenship behaviors. Those are the little activities where you note that your team goes above and beyond what you could possibly ask them to do within a day. When we did a looked at the relationship between the team member engagement results and the quality of life satisfaction results, we were able to determine that the higher the engagement scores were, the more favorable ratings we got out of our residents. Something that you would probably think anyways, but we were able to prove it within the data. 5 out of the 10 domains were significantly and positively related to those engagement scores.
So looking at our results today, we wanted to include a recent analysis which also demonstrates the correlation between team engagement and resident quality of life. The first graph relates to people ask for my help or advice. As team member engagement increases, residents answer more positively towards the statement. The same can be said about meaningful activities, which is the second graph. Knowing this relationship, we recognize the importance of engaging not only our residents, but our team members as well.
All right, so we have another question for everybody out there. So this time around, what we want to know is, how does your organization currently involve or engage residents in quality improvement or decision-making processes? So we'll give everybody a couple of minutes to think about that. And then again, just a friendly reminder to please type in your response in the questions box on the right-hand side of your screen. Right, so we're hearing from some of you already. So people are saying things like resident council or program planning meetings, at committee meetings. Yep. Seems like there's a number of people saying through resident councils, as well as through operational planning, or maybe done one-on-one with the people living in the home, such as a one-on-one interview. That's great. Another person is bringing up that it could be done through dietary committee meetings, maybe by showing new foods, getting people to test them out. And another answer somebody has is bringing in staff and the people living there together through community meetings. All right, that's awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, fantastic responses. Oftentimes we survey residents to understand how they feel. However, we might not think to involve them in the change process. Results of the quality of life survey are presented to councils, and they're helping to decide indicators we choose to work on. So this is something that we've been doing at Schlegel Villages. It's our chance to say to them, we've heard you, now what can we do about it? So in this example, in Ontario, we submit an annual quality improvement plan to Health Quality Ontario. It is really our commitment to quality and includes a mix of clinical and resident engagement indicators. For this village, they were one of our newly acquired homes, and they presented their results of their survey to council. Both the residents and the village felt a connection with the indicator, I can easily go outdoors if I want, and chose to highlight it on their quip. This is something that they felt that they weren't able to get outdoors enough, and so they chose to really focus on it for this current year. And change ideas were created just by working alongside with our residents, so that was great. The second example, the team at Aspen Lake includes their residents in their operational planning as well. So I heard that on the comments. They highlighted decline in performance on the statement, staff take the time to have a friendly conversation with me. And they knew they wanted to exceed previous performance. This is something that they'd been working on for a couple of years for their quip. By working together, they set their target, and they have so far achieved a 74% positive rating in 2018, which is a great improvement. There are many opportunities for residents to become involved in our villages and share their wisdom. We have had residents participate in our annual Innovation Summit, which is a 2-day internal conference, which brings together team members, leaders, researchers, residents, and families, as well as external partners, who learn together from each other about quality initiatives and research happening in our villages. Residents provide feedback into our new, we've engaged our residents to provide feedback in our new customer service training program that was rolled out this year, the Connect the Dots program. And we've also included residents on panel sessions, which Jen mentioned earlier, during team member orientation, as well as organizational-wide leadership training.
So in summary then, what do we do to empower our villagers? Well, we talked about how we take our data to the neighborhood level wherever possible. We have the greatest opportunity to affect change if we drive our data down to the level where it affects or touches the residents the closest. And for us, that's within our neighborhoods. We provide neighborhood teams with information on how they are doing in their neighborhood against how they're doing across the village or in comparison to other neighborhoods across our organization. We've also created our village advisory teams. These are teams that have representation of both residents and families and team members at each one of our locations that are helping to inform our culture change journey. We conduct conversation cafes. These are held annually and give us information that informs us about our operational direction. And then Jaimie spoke about our quality improvement plans, how our residents are helping to inform which indicators should be chosen to work on and improve upon within that calendar year.
We feel that success is learning from others who have lived experience and and it's important to tap into that resource. We want to engage residents, family members, and team members in the change process. We need to ask questions to understand what is important to them, what isn't working or needs to change. When looking at performance or data, we want to seek their wisdom. What a better way to find a solution than to ask those that are closest to it. However, it should not stop there. Involve them in the decision-making process, which also gives them a sense of ownership and the desire to see the changes succeed.
And with that, we would like to thank you in participating in today's webinar.
All right, and now we have lots of time for questions. So we want to know if you have any final questions or comments for Jennifer and Jaimie. Someone had brought up the question earlier. This person says she understands the 0 to 3 CPS, which I believe stands for Cognitive Performance Scale, but what if someone is on the high side of a 3? Are you able to break down the survey into smaller periods to keep the person's attention?
Yeah, so we do offer the survey to anyone that has a CPS of 0 to 3. Sometimes people are on the lower end of 3 and some are on the higher. Surveys can be conducted over a period of time. So if somebody fatigues and they can't answer the question and do it all in one sitting, we would offer it over multiple sittings. If a resident's truly not able to understand it, then we would just mark them ineligible and continue our conversation without having to ask them the questions.
All right. And another question we have here for you both is, from where did you source your team member engagement survey?
That's a great question. Actually, our team member engagement survey is what you would call a homegrown survey. We have worked with consultants that have experience in the team area. So actually outside of, believe it or not, outside of the general workforce and actually looking to getting some supports from academia and people who are engaged in teams that actually look at sports teams, because there's no difference between leaders and followers, whether you're in the sports environment or within the business environment. And so we've engaged some specialists outside to help determine those 5 different categories that I mentioned, and then pulled questions from them. So it's actually ours.
All right, great, thanks, Jen. Got a few more questions here. So another person wants to know, how do you engage residents that have vision or hearing issues?
With the survey or?
That's likely what this person is saying in refer to, but actually, yeah, maybe it is a broader. So I don't know if you're able to speak to both sides, perhaps?
Well, in the survey, it's conducted by a surveyor, so they would be asking the questions. So vision doesn't have to come into play. If it's somebody that has hearing difficulties, we could also provide them a written copy so that they can read along with us and answer that way. We do also participate in the family version of the CLRI survey for those residents that aren't able to complete the survey themselves as well. So we have a couple of villages that are trialing that. In terms of programming, we really do try to meet the needs of the residents, so they would be participating in programming that would fit what they're able to do.
All right, thanks, Jaimie. And another person is asking, what methods do you use to administer the survey?
So it's a one-on-one interview. So our surveyors go and meet with the residents. We have good conversation. So we don't just ask the questions and leave. We actually try to engage them as well. So oftentimes the survey or the conversation goes beyond the survey. But really it's a chance for our team members. So our team members are typically the ones that are surveying. It's a chance for them to have some meaningful conversation with our residents as well. Now, our team members do not survey the people that they care for, so they would go on to another neighborhood and meet new residents.
All right, thank you. And another question here, somebody's wondering if you can elaborate on the conversation cafes.
Go ahead.
The conversation cafes is just a technique or a tool that you can use to actually garnish participation from every member of a conversation. We've done it for operational planning where you set up tables where you rotate through and collect information on an individual basis. So everyone who sits at a table has the opportunity to provide feedback. Sometimes that is done through paper and pen and posted up on a wall, and sometimes that's just done verbally. It is done, the idea is that you give everybody equal opportunity to be a part of the conversation. Interestingly enough, the RIA does have lots of information resources about conversation cafes, as it is part of their culture change journey information that you can get off their website.
Yep, so that would be in our culture change guidebook, and our website has been updated just this week. So I believe you would find it in the resources section.
Thanks, Kate.
No problem. And another question here that ties into what you were talking about earlier. Somebody wants to know, how do you encourage team members to see the value in getting customer feedback from residents who have cognitive impairment? So she's looking for some strategies for understanding, various ways to keep them involved.
Yeah, so we don't, unfortunately, the survey isn't sensitive enough to give to those with cognitive impairments. So that's why it's only a 0 to 3. But really, we've been encouraging our teams to really talk to our residents, get to know them. Everyone has a voice, no matter what their cognition is, and they should be involved in making those choices. It's not our job to make the choice on what their life should look like, but to really ask them. And we have a great signature program, Living in My Today, which really focuses on what life is like in that moment and how to read into and work with expressions that our residents may be having as well.
And I think also having an appreciation for that everybody has good days and bad days, and sometimes the choices that are offered one day or one moment in time look quite different from what can be offered 10 minutes from now or perhaps even tomorrow. So as Jaimie said, our Living in My Today program, education is a great way to teach our team members and provide them with experience and opportunities to understand what value is in getting to know your residents and providing them with choice. If you could imagine what your day looks like where you don't have to make a decision, what that feels like for you, we try and put that perspective forward for our teams.
All right, thanks. And then so somebody else is saying he might have missed this during the earlier part of the presentation, but how do you decide what recreational programs to offer residents? And this kind of, I guess, ties on what pretty much building what you were just saying with people's days and having them structured or not.
Our recreation programs are really quite robust. The me form, getting to know our residents, drives a lot of our programming. There is a lot of ad hoc communication that goes on through various groups that also allows the teams to determine what kind of programs our residents are interested in participating in. Tracking attendance is one way to know whether the program's of any success, but also the verbal feedback we get from our residents as well. We find that most of them really aren't shy in sharing whether they enjoy something or don't enjoy participating in a program. more recently, we have been working towards more of a spontaneous programming where it's what you decide in the moment of time that the residents are choosing what's happening, as opposed to pre-planning their day out for them, giving them the opportunity to say, what do you feel like doing right now? And then we go and do it. And so sometimes there is a cart that provides options of things that could happen, or trying to pull together a spontaneous baking program, or maybe it's going outside for a walk, or finding something to do with music. It really depends on what you want to do in that moment of time that will bring joy. And this is what we're teaching our recreation leaders to do within our villages.
All right, thanks, Jaimie. And then another question somebody has, we have just a couple more here. Someone wants to know, why do you conduct the survey close to the residents' RI MDS?
We do that so that we could potentially down the road provide some correlation between their RIMDS information. So when we do their clinical assessments, hopefully we can get some correlations between what we're finding clinically and what we're finding with quality of life answers. So it's something that we have looked into the past, and we don't always do the analysis for ongoing, but potentially be able to link those two data sets together.
The other thing is it allows you to ensure that that CPS score that is generated through the completion of the RIMDS is true and relevant, because as we know, that can change. So the closer you can put the two together, you know that you have that reliable 0 to 3 score.
All right, thanks. And then there's been a couple questions that are kind of similar. So one is, how many staff or team members do you have any long-term in your long-term care home for programming? So they were just wondering, I don't know if this person's wondering overall. And then another person was asking, how many rec staff per neighborhood?
So we do have dedicated staffing. One rec team member is dedicated to each neighborhood. So a neighborhood goes up to and including 32 residents, and there is a recreation team member associated with that neighborhood. I think the other thing to share at this time is that we've been trying to encourage all that work within the neighborhood, that recreation programming isn't just the job of the recreation therapist, but it actually can be the responsibility of anyone that works there. And through that opportunity, we can see PSWs who can set up or engage or assist or be a part of a program has the opportunity to expand the type of programming that offers within a neighborhood. So when you can share those responsibilities, just like anybody can have the opportunity to provide that second assistance with a lift, you can do the same thing with recreation programming as well. So that's something that we're trying to encourage within our neighborhoods as well.
All right, excellent. And then 2 questions regarding culture change. So the first one is your home a unionized environment? And if so, did you have any challenges with culture change because of that?
We do have a mix of both unionized and non-unionized villages across our organization. There hasn't been any challenges that I can think of that we weren't able to overcome with respect to that unionized environment. The culture change journey is just that. It is a journey that we will continue to be on, and I think that we are just a small way through where we have the potential of being when we look at moving ourselves from an institutional environment to more of a social model for living. And I think that the team members themselves see the value in that, and some villages are farther along that journey than others. And so can it affect it? I think there's potential. I think education and understanding where we want to go and why has been a great help in overcoming some of those barriers, perhaps. Again, I think some of this can be found in the Culture Change Journey resources that are located on the Research Institute website.
Yes, and we've gotten a couple questions about that. I do not have the URL or web link with me off the top of my head, but that is something we will definitely send out as a follow-up for everyone. And so it doesn't look like there's any more questions, so I want to thank all of you for joining us for this webinar, and we would really like your feedback on it and any suggestions you have for your future webinars, including topics. So a short online survey will pop up after this webinar ends. And as well, I will be sending links to some of the resources we mentioned, and as well as the handout and the recording link for this webinar. once it's available about a week from now. And thanks again to Jennifer and Jaimie for sharing with us this very practical and inspiring resident in engagement and quality improvement information. So we're going to be signing off now, but please feel free to get in touch with us anytime with any questions you have.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.